Okay, guys, for your fact of the day, you have to have some requirements here. First of all, you have to have a title that says fact of the day. So you can either design it in Keynote or you can use the text images, whatever you want for that. You also need to have a picture that represents your fact, and then you have to have your fact, and that's really important because your fact obviously tells the story here, and it needs to be on screen long enough so that you can actually have somebody read it, and it needs to be visible. So those are things that you really need to keep into consideration is having very visible and readable text and then playing out the timing of it. So what you need to do when you're editing it is play it back and see if you have enough time to read that. Your nose gets warmer when you lie. Okay, perfect amount of time to read that. Some facts are obviously longer than others. If you had a longer sentence than that, that would definitely need to be extended a little bit more. Now, whenever you go to make your facts, you're doing 5 separate videos. That might seem like a lot, but really it is not, especially once you get the foundation laying for your first one and you see just how easy it is. Now, you need to have some music in there too. You can pull your music from stock media and really dig through these and see some different ones. You can also search for different audio. You can even search for some sound effects. So let me just show you this example because I think it is on its way to being done very, very well. I'm going to play back the sound just so that you can hear it. First of all, there's a little bit of a gap here. That gap probably is not going to stay there. Probably what's going to happen is the student is going to slide everything back over there. Really easy to do if you just zoom out, pick up your stuff, slide it all the way over. Okay. Then when you play it, let's listen. Fact of the day. Cool little sound effect. That was done through keyboard effects here. Now, not that you have to do that, but it's just an idea. You can get a keyboard typing, put that in there if it matches with whatever not stock media, but whatever design you used in Keynote. Again, if you make it in Keynote, you just need to export it as a video and pop it in here. Let's continue watching this. And of course, it's saying preparing your preview, which means my internet connection is not very good. Imagine that. If it ever does that, just hit cancel. Go back in. Try playing it again. There we go. Music's fading in. I like it. Let me turn that down a little bit. Your nose gets warmer when you lie. And then you have stock media that relates to it. And notice that both the video and the audio are fading out. And that is done through your fading effects. Now remember, your second little button over here, that does your video. Your green line is your video fade out. When you click on your speaker, your blue line is your audio fade out. Like I said, this is very well done. Now, just to show you guys how you can make your text stand out a little bit more and actually also see more of your picture is if you double click on it. If you choose a text effect that has this box around it, whenever you go to change your box color, for example, maybe like Falcon Blue or something like that, oh, that happens to be this one right here. What you can do is actually make that transparent. So if you go over here and slide down your transparency, now you can see some of your video or background image through that, giving that transparent effect. You can also double click, go over here to your transformer and make it a little bit bigger. But if you make it bigger, you got to fit it on screen. Now, that's a little bit too big, but depending on how much space your text takes up, that's how you would maybe possibly want to do this. Let me show you some more examples here. I'm going to do Command Z or Control Z to take all this back to the way that the student had his before. So when he gets into his project later, it's not going to be all screwed up from what I did. Okay, I'm going to discard any changes I made. I'm going to go into somebody else's from earlier and search for theirs. All right, this was a really good example here. Notice she does have her watermark in. Sophia did that correctly. She has a title at the beginning that says Fact of the Day. Has some music. Has a really nice video that goes with this. A tsunami can travel as fast as a jet plane. If I keep playing it, yes, there's enough time to see it. Notice here we have 2 visuals that relate to it. We're talking about a tsunami. So she went into her video search and typed for tsunami and found some really good stock media. And then I had her go in there and type airplane green screen. And that's how we have that visual of the airplane flying over the tsunami. So if you type in something like airplane and do a search and you find an airplane maybe that has green screen. So if I type in airplane green screen, might be able to find this effect that she had here that Sophia used. There's all kinds of different airplane or jet plane green screen effects. But whenever you put it in here, and I'm going to show you how she did this, I'm going to delete this one. Let's say you drop this one in. Obviously, whenever you play it and it's covering up this layer, you can't see it. All you see is the green. So double click it, go up to your Chroma Key, which is your 1, 2, 3, 4th one in here. Go to your color picker, pick your green, and bye-bye green. Hello airplane, there we go. It is flying across. I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to Control Z that and let it go back to the way that Sophia had it before. Now, just to show you the way that Sophia had this text effect in here, you can clearly see your text and still see the actual video behind it. And again, how that is done is when you double click, if there is a second color here, what you can do is set that color. Looks like this one actually didn't do it. This one just does like a line. So this particular effect is already built in, it looks like. So I think whenever Sophia was going through and looking for her different text, she chose one that happened to already have that bar on the side. I think it was the motion one. But let's say she didn't pick that one. Okay, let me delete the one that she has. Let's say she picked, I don't know, this one maybe. Drop that on there. Notice whenever we do that, you can see through it a little bit. If you double click, you can go in and see that there's this transparency slider, so you can determine how transparent you want it. You can determine the actual color and then set the transparency from there. And then this is where you can type in your fact straight from Google Slides. I think it was a tsunami can travel faster than a jet plane. I think that was the fact, but don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure. And I don't have it up here in Google Slides to look at. Again, you can change all your other different colors around however you want. You can change your font around, all that good stuff. Your most important thing is making your font actually stand out. Now, personally, I do not like what I just changed this to. I like what Sophia had better. I was just showing you different ways of changing how your text looks. Now, if you have a fact that has a lot more text to it, where it's going to take maybe a sentence or two or more, what you can go in and do, first of all, let me make this window a little bit smaller. I'm going to add a layer for this. Move all this stuff up. I'm going to make another text layer right here. Reason why I'm making another text layer, let me actually delete both of these. It's like literally the same exact thing, but if I double click the one and I move it up, now I have multiple lines of text. So that is one way that you can get your text to actually fit if you have a lot of text. And when you double click it, you can change the positioning and everything. Now, again, like I said before, these colors are changeable depending on what scheme you want to go with, whatever your color scheme is. The transparency is changeable. Okay, but if you get to some texts that are plain, for example, this one right here is just literally plain text. There's absolutely no background behind it. If you do that, you can see when you double click on it, there's not even an option to make that background color. So you have to pick one of these text styles in WeVideo that has a solid background or solid fill behind it. The reason why you want to do that is your text could get washed out in your video or in your image, and you don't want that to happen. Your text has to stand out. So make sure whenever you are doing this, you are focusing on readability and then most importantly, the timing as well, because nothing is worse than having something on screen and then boom, it's done and you didn't get to read it. So those are some of the techniques I want you guys to use. Again, make sure when you are working on this, you are following the rubric very clearly, which I will have posted. Again, you have to have text readability. Your text has to be on screen long enough. You have to have some kind of visuals to go with it. Need to have some sound. Need to have your watermark for each fact video. It doesn't matter how long these videos are. For example, this is only 12 seconds, and that's perfect. You're making 5 mini videos, so they're not going to be very long. They're not supposed to be. When you're doing this, though, make sure you fade out that music, okay? Nothing's worse than just having the song abruptly stop. Notice Sophia did that. Sophia did it right. That's what you guys should be doing. So here's one more quick example. This one about actually something in history here. Playing this, we've got the music and the fact the first organized indoor hockey game was played in Montreal in 1875. Now that actually may be on screen a little bit too long. That could always be shortened. But then we cut from stock media to an actual picture. So if you go out on Google and you save an actual picture and import it into your library and put it in there, you can use more than one image. You can use stock media, you can use Google image search. But one thing I will say is this text here kind of gets washed away a little bit. So following the technique that we learned earlier, what we can do is go ahead and find a different text style. For example, one that has a background to it, maybe this one. I'm going to pop it in there if it lets me. Might have to put it here and then make it a little bit shorter. Double click it, and once I'm in there, I can change the color of that to, I don't know, maybe something like black. Instead of doing solid black, go in and make it semi-transparent like this. And then I can go in there and say, maybe on one line, these uniforms were very questionable. LOL. Something in there like that's okay if you use a little bit of humor. But what you can do is extend your box to make your actual text fit on there. And then you can do some alignment where maybe you pop it into the center, you bold it, you make the size a little bit bigger. But notice just by doing these quick little things, that text now pops out quite a bit more. A better spot for it might actually be up here in this area where there's really not a whole lot going on, because think of it like this: you don't want to take away a part of the picture that you want the viewer's eyes to be focused on. So I'm going to take that out and just see how this looks. Oh, it looks like that other text is still there for some reason. How about now? These uniforms were very questionable, LOL. And again, instead of it just stopping, do those fade outs. So again, everybody's fact is going to be different. Depending on how much text you have, you're going to organize yours a little bit differently than somebody else. But you are still following all the readability, all the timing requirements. Timing is important. Don't have it on screen so fast that you don't read it, but don't have it on screen too long that it's a bit annoying, okay? Those are things that you need to consider, and it will be different across all of your 5 different fact videos.